Hello everyone, Miss Gretchen with Rubies and Moonstones. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you are new to my channel, I hope that you would like it here and consider subscribing for more diamond painting content. And if you are returning, welcome back. Thank you so much for continuing to support my channel. I would not be here without you. So thank you very much. So I am re-recording the beginning of this video for a few reasons. I also just wanted to let you know that this is going to be a longer video because there's so much that I want to include. And I tried to make it shorter, but I just feel like everything goes together, from what type of pen you can use and how to start looking into better pens, and the progression that I went through when trying to find the pens and the pen tips that I like, to see if maybe the way that I discovered the pens that I like could help you discover the pens that you like and or need. And then I feel like after we talk about pens, the best thing to go into then is pen tips and MultiPlacers. And if we're going to talk all about those, we should talk about putties and waxes and all of those types of things. So it's a long video. So I am going to insert here on your screen the timestamps of the different sections of the video, and they're going to be relatively broad, but that way if you don't care about learning about pens, but you want to learn how to put glue dots into your pen, you can just skip to that section. So hopefully that will help you when trying to navigate this video. And I do know it is quite long, but hopefully there is some stuff in here that will help you. As I've said before, I am learning, you're learning, let's learn together. That is kind of becoming my motto. I by no means know everything, but I am just trying to share with you what I have learned and what has helped me up to this point. So I just want this to be an all-inclusive video, kind of a one-stop shop for everything pen tip, MultiPlacer, all that stuff related. All right, so let's go ahead and jump back into the original video. So to begin with, there are so many pen options out there, it's really hard to know where to start. And what you typically start with is something like this, right? This is what is going to come in your typical toolkit. Now this one has a comfort grip. Some very basic toolkits may not come with a comfort grip, but it is nice, and you really don't need to go beyond this. If you really get into diamond painting, you might want something that's a little bit more comfortable, but you can do an entire diamond painting, large or small, with just this type of a pen. And they also frequently come with different sizes of MultiPlacers, whether it's a 4 and 7 or a 3 and 7. Depending on your kit, you will get some different MultiPlacer tips. The comfort grip can either come on your pen or it may come off of it. Sometimes they're really easy to slide on, like this one is. Sometimes they can be a bit harder and they just have to coax it on a little bit more. But really this is all that you need. However, if you are looking for a little bit more comfort, one very simple thing that you can do if you don't want to spend any money, grab another comfort grip, put one on this end. So this way, when you're single placing, your fingers are on this comfort grip and this one is resting in that part of your hand. And then when you flip it around to multi-place, you have a comfort grip down here as well. So that's a cheap, easy way to just make your pens a bit more comfortable. This video wouldn't be complete without talking about Diamond Art Club's Twist and Pick pen. So obviously we have our MultiPlacer on this end, and you can actually put in different MultiPlacers onto this tip. So not just the plastic ones, but you can put in one of the push metal placers. Now it has to be a push one. This is not a twist pin, but you can push in one of their regular push MultiPlacers into that end, which is nice. But I also wanted to just point out how these work on this end with the twisting part. So sometimes this part can be a little hard to pull off the first time, so you might need to really use some elbow grease there, but just yank it and it comes right off. Now this one is kind of a good example because this has happened to me a few times where the putty is not all the way up to the end here. It is actually further back, and I've even had them come where the putty is all the way back to like this first big round bump area. And the first time that this happened to me, I could not understand how to get the pen to work because I was twisting and twisting and no putty was coming out. And so that's what you do to get putty to come to the end, is you twist clockwise towards the left, and that will gradually get the putty to come. Now, because of these ridges, it can kind of hurt your fingers, and so when the putty is really far back, it really gets wedged in there. It can be difficult. Some pens are easier, it seems, to twist than others, and some aren't. So one time I was doing this and twisting it, and I did not feel like I was getting anywhere. So what I suggest you do, if that is your problem, grab those tweezers and use them to grab on and twist the pen until you get the putty to come to the tip. And now my fingers don't hurt and the putty is actually all the way out at the end of the tip. This is obviously way too much putty that we don't need, so then you can just pinch it off. You actually really don't need hardly any putty on these things, and sometimes that may even be too much because it kind of ends up squishing out on the drills. This is why I still prefer glue dots, although I think that this is a great invention. Another thing to know about these is they are refillable. Of course, you do get a new one with each kit that you get from Diamond Art Club, but if you want to refill it, you twist this part off, and then you need to pull out this section. Again, you're going to need your tweezers for that. You can see some putty is actually on this one already, and it's also within this part of the pen. So if you've used up all of your putty in there and you need to add more, you can grab some of their putty or whatever you have decided to put in there. And what I would just do is take a little piece, kind of roll it up into a ball. That's actually way more putty than I want. And then put the ball into the end there. And then when you push this end back in, again, you're going to want to have your tweezers. Sorry for when it stops focusing. Do it the best I can. You push this in as far as you can. Then you can re-screw this on and you have refilled it with putty and can continue to use it and use the same pen over and over and over and over again on every single painting if you want to, or you can swap it out when you get a new one. Up to you. I have also heard that some people have taken out all of this putty and shoved in red wax. I actually really want to try that because I think I might like this function and how you can just twist out more putty with the red wax. So that's something that I think I might try, but it seems like a lot of work to get all of that putty out, so I haven't done it yet. But I've heard that it works really well, and I think I might give it a try. When I do, I'll let you know how it goes. One other thing that I wanted to talk to you about are pens like these, which I refer to as pick pens, and I'm not sure if that's the official name of them or not, but it works. Before I talk about these, I want to talk about this. So this is something that I found on Amazon. I will put a link into it below if I can. I believe this was advertised more for nail art, and got it because I thought that maybe it would help with placing ABs. This end has a wax tip. It's practically like a crayon, but obviously it's not a crayon. But you can twist off the end once it gets too squished or too used up, and then you can replace it with a brand new one, and they give you plenty of tips like this. And then the other end is just a sharp needly thing. So I think that's why it's more for nail art. I originally got this because I thought that it would maybe help with placing ABs, but I found that as I actually tried to place with ABs, it left wax on the AB, or it was getting pushed in really far on this end and just getting really flattened out, which was therefore leaving the wax on the AB, and so it just really wasn't working for me. However, I still use this on a day-to-day basis, so it was kind of an accidental discovery. So what I found was that this works actually really well to help pick out bad drills. So I can use the wax end to pick out random blobs of trash. I can use it to, there's not actually a lot of bad drills in this color, but to just go in and pick out anything that may be bad to help make my lines straighter and make sure that I have good squares, especially when I'm working with squares, although I do use it with the rounds as well. I love how I can just pinpoint one diamond and pull it off. It doesn't matter where it's at in the line. I can just pick one diamond out. And then I can flip it around and use the pointy end to help scooch my lines together if that's something that I need to do. Or here, maybe I want to scooch that down so this one can fall into place. So it's just become a really handy tool to help line up my drills, especially when I am working with squares. So I love this for that purpose. I did not really like it for laying ABs, but when it came to arranging my drills so that they're straight, I actually really like it. All right, so I know this looks very different, but I just wanted to include a little section about placing ABs. So these are some different types of tips that I have gotten in different toolkits with recent purchases that I have made. I'm actually going to put the tips down here so that you can see them against the dark background. So the one that I have in the purple pen, it actually came on just a regular stylus pen, but I pulled it out and put it into a more comfortable pen, and that one came from a Dreamer Designs kit. This one on the left that has the angled tip actually came in the toolkit for the kit that I am working on here from Francesca's Studio Works. This is called Conversation by Olga and Alexei Drozdov. And so it's nice that it has this angled tip. Now, I think that the big difference between these tips and what we typically use with those brass tips is just that they are flat and more rounded space. I don't know what it is, but you know, your brass tips will just pull the putty right out when you are working on ABs. These do not. So I do have some ABs pulled out to show you how they work, and you know, it works as well as any other pen, as you just pick it up and put them down. So I do really like these little angled tips when single placing, actually. So it is nice that they gave us one in this kit, and you can just pick up and put those ABs down, and it is not pulling the wax out. Similarly, this tip works the exact same way, and does not pull any of the wax out. The only time that I have had wax kind of come out is just after I have just loaded new wax into my pen, and so then maybe there's just a little bit too much wax. So when I place the drill, there is a bit of wax that has squished out, probably because I'm a little bit of a heavy-handed placer. But other than that, it's not pulling out of my pen, which is great. So as you know, it does tend to happen when you are using regular wax with a brass tip. It doesn't always happen, of course, because I'm doing it now and it's not pulling them out, but lots of times when you are using that regular brass tip, it will just pull all of your wax right out, and it is so frustrating. For single placing purposes also, it seems like the Diamond Art Club putty and tip that they have works really pretty well also. So that, I suppose, is another unique function of their new pin that they have. And I also did take the time to remove all of the putty from one of my pins and try to put in wax. As you can see, I did not do a very good job. I got as much putty out as I possibly could, but I couldn't get it all out, so I tried. anyways, and then I put wax, just their normal red wax in there, and it seems to work really well for picking up and putting down ABs as well, and has not been pulling out the wax either. When it comes to the Diamond Art Club new pen as well, I think it's more about the type of tip, but in all honesty, I don't use this pen very often. I definitely don't use it with the putty often. I have tried, I prefer my glue dots when I'm single placing, so I don't really use them that much. But I have been placing a few ABs with both the putty and the wax, and I haven't had any wax or putty get yanked out, so it seems to be working really pretty well. I will point out that trying to get all of the putty out of this was exhausting. I don't know how people previously have done it. I just tried to use some tweezers and it seemed to take literally forever. And then as you can see, I was not able to do a perfect job with it. But it's serving its purpose, and I can now twist the pen and get more wax out. My suggestion would be, if you want to use wax in this style of pen instead of the putty, versus spending all of the time and effort to try and pull all of that putty out, I would just get their stainless steel pen, single placer pen that you can put into these things. They do sell them, and so if you buy one of those, then you can just have a fresh, clean pen, and you can put putty in it if you want to, or you can put wax in it and not have to spend all of that time taking the putty out. But of course, that is another cost. So anyway, that was just another note that I wanted to share with you. I hope it makes sense. Let me know if you have any questions. So obviously this wouldn't really work for multi-placing, but when you're single placing, it works really, really well. I have found that when multi-placing, again, I use Randa's Crafty Corner Putty, but if I am going to be multi-placing a large section of ABs, I have discovered that if I put in brand new, fresh wax, it works really well. It doesn't pull the coating off of the ABs. I feel like the ABs always kind of get your putty just a little bit dirty, and that's how putty can get so stringy and it pulls out your wax and everything. But if I have fresh putty from Randa's in my multi-placers, I am able to multi-place with relative ease ABs, which is amazing because, you know, ABs are very difficult. So yeah, just wanted to share that with you. However, I still tend to just want to use the same pen, and I use my single placers with the glue dots, and that works really well also. And then if I have a large area that I can multi-place the ABs, then I can flip it around and use the putty that I have in my multi-placer, and then I can flip it back around and use my single placer. So I have not found the glue dots to pull off the iridescent coating of the ABs, as I have heard some people claim. I have not had that problem. So I don't know if that is something about new versus old drills or where that story came from. But it does make my glue dots less sticky, but that's okay. I can flip them around, or I can put in new glue dots, or lots of times I just designate a certain pen to be used with ABs, and then that way when I'm placing regular drills, it doesn't make a big difference. So I just wanted to share those tips about placing ABs as well, and include those in this video about pen tips. I haven't tried every pen out there, but I will kind of show you the progression that I went through when finding the pens that I like. That being said, I do not have arthritis in my hands. I don't have any pain with my fingers or my wrists or anything like that. So if you are somebody who suffers with pain and have a hard time diamond painting for a long period of time, you may need to look for something more. And I'll talk to you a little bit more about that momentarily, but I want to show you the progression that I went through. So one of the first things I got comes in this container. I've got a lot more in it at this point, but you can get these things on Amazon or even Temu. And it comes with 3 pins, which I thought was a great deal. And this one has actually threaded tips, and it comes with all 10 tips, if not more than 10. This is a straightener, and then you can just twist them on. Here is an angled single placer. And you can twist that one onto the end of this one, and then you can switch them out however you would like. So this was the first type of multi-placer set that I used, and it was okay, but as I was trying to really perfect my multi-placing skills, I struggled, and I feel like it is just because these tips are a bit thicker, and it might be kind of hard for you to see that, but it was hard for me to get my drills to line up perfectly in there. While I was trying to learn, I struggled with those because since they are a little bit wider, I couldn't get my drills to line up in a perfectly straight line in them. You have to like press them against the side of your tray, and it was hard for me. And they also don't fit well down in between like 2 rows of drills. And that is where I had a hard time as well when I was trying to fill in those spaces. So I finally decided to upgrade and went to the Diamond Art Club multi-placer tips. These are a much thinner tip. I'm not sure if you can tell. I do have putty in the Diamond Art Club one, and there is wax in the other one. But I find that my drills are able to line up a lot straighter and easier in the Diamond Art Club pen tips than they are in the these twist-on tips. Another thing I need to point out about these twist-on pens is Diamond Art Club has now come out with their own twist-on style of pens. And I do have a couple, but I don't happen to have them on me at this very moment. I did try them out in these pens, and they do not fit. So if you get the Diamond Art Club style of twist pins and twist multi-placer tips or single placer tips, you have to have the Diamond Art Club pen that goes with it. They do not fit together, or at least they do not fit well. So just know that if you are going to try and get their multi-placer tips, you are going to have to get their actual twist pins as well. But now I do have those twist pins. So this is one of Diamond Art Club's twist pins. And so it has the threaded multi-placers and single placers. It is a long threading. In comparison to the threaded tips that you can get on Amazon, the Diamond Art Club ones are quite a bit longer, and they are also a different width. So just as I will not be able to put the threaded tip, I guess I can kind of put the threaded tip from Amazon into Diamond Art Club's pen, but it's just not going to go down all the way. If you can see that, you see that there is still some threading showing, but it does kind of swirl into there. However, with Diamond Art Club's threaded tips, and this is an Amazon pen, when I try and twist it in, it's just a bit loose. I guess this one's kind of actually working, but it feels so loose. Like I'm spinning this around. I'm not sure if you can see how this is just kind of continuing to spin. So maybe you can make it work, but it really is just going to kind of depend. So this, see, this one's just constantly spinning. I'm not sure how that would actually work if you are diamond painting. Maybe it'll stay in there enough, but then you see how it just pulls right out. So that's why I say that the Diamond Art Club ones don't really work with the Amazon ones. The Diamond Art Club twist multi-placers really need to go with the Diamond Art Club twist pens. Maybe you can make them work, but it's just not the greatest fit. So I am not advertising for Diamond Art Club. I am just saying that is how their pens work. And then this is their single placer that comes with the pen when you buy it. You have to buy the multi-placer separately. But it twists out obviously in the exact same manner. So yeah, when you buy one of these pens from Diamond Art Club, it just comes with the single placer attached to it. And then you need to, if you want a multi-placer, you have to buy a twist multi-placer separately. Just make sure that you are reading the description correctly, because it has to be the threaded multi-placer, not a push multi-placer, to fit into the threaded pen. Similarly, I cannot push my push multi-placers into this pen. They have to match. If it's a twist pin, it has to have the threaded multi-placers. If it's a push pin, it has to have the push multi-placers. This is another twist pen that I got from Diamond Art Club. So it came with the single placer twisted in just fine on this side. And then I went to go and try and screw in my multi-placer, and I could not get it to screw in. It goes in that far and will not go any further. I contacted Diamond Art Club. They did reimburse me for the pen, so that was great, and I appreciate that. I have tried to just line it up correctly. You know, sometimes you can feel that it's just a bit off, but it's very difficult. However, I also am just trying to make it work, and if I twist it in hard enough, it will at least stay, so I can use it. It's just not pushed in all the way, so it's just kind of personal preference. So that is Diamond Art Club's twist pins versus the twist pins that you can get from Amazon and Temu and things like that. And these are the twist pins from Amazon, and you can usually get them for like $20 or something like that from Amazon or Temu, even less than $20, and they usually come in a set of 3. But again, it wasn't working for me, and that's why I decided to move up to the Diamond Art Club MultiPlacers. While I'm talking about the different sizes of MultiPlacers, I did also get this 15 multi-placer tip from Everlasting Tips to try out, and I also got it in a size 7. Now, I was surprised to see how thick these are. You can see that I have putty in these and that I have been using them. It is not fresh putty, but I did want to show you what that looks like. So if I compare this 15 multi-placer tip to my 12 multi-placer tip from Diamond Art Club, hopefully you can see how much, look at how much thicker this one is than that one. So I was a bit disappointed. Now granted, I do have a bit of putty kind of running off of the sides of this one right now, but it's also running off of the sides of this one. So you can really tell how much thicker this one is than this one. Even though that is the case, I have still been using this one, and I feel like now that I am an experienced multi-placer, it's easier for me to place with these larger ones. Especially when I'm using a 15 multi-placer tip. I'm usually doing that when I'm doing a really large color blocking section. So I'm not trying to fit the drills in between other drills. I am laying them down for the first time. And so far it has been going okay. But I was a little disappointed to see that Everlasting Tips were so much thicker than the Diamond Art Club ones. So I see myself using the Diamond Art Club ones a lot more frequently than the Everlasting Tips, but I did want to give them a try. I know that these are made of stainless steel and are meant to last forever. So if you can get good at multi-placing and get used to the thickness of these, you will never have to buy another multi-placer again. That being said, Diamond Art Clubs are also supposed to be lifetime stainless steel tips as well, so you shouldn't have any issues with them either. They just only go up to a 12, and I really wanted to try the 15. And again, when learning how to multi-place, I really feel like having a thin tip like these helps. And this is the size 4 MultiPlacer tip. So this is very similar to their plastic MultiPlacer tip that comes with every kit that they send. So if you like that one, you'll like this one, if not more. My mom liked the plastic MultiPlacer tip best when she was first learning, because I gave her one of these types of kits to practice with, and she didn't like them. She kept using like this pen and their 4-tip MultiPlacer tip because she liked multiplacing with that better and found it easier as well. And then I finally got her to get the metal tips, and she really loves those and hasn't gone back. So that's a little bit about the MultiPlacer tips. And now before I go into the single placers, I do want to talk to you a little bit more about pens. So all of these pens, we'll take these out. All of these pens on this side are Diamond Art Club branded pens. All of the pens over here I have gotten when I have purchased one of the 60, 70, 96, whatever vial slot organizer systems. So if you are looking into getting an organizer system like this, they frequently come with a lot of stuff. Now this is one I recently got, and I don't know if there is a pen that comes with it or not, but look at all the stuff that comes with it, right? So you've got a tray, more wax, a straightener, plastic tweezers, and then all of these pens and MultiPlacer tips, etc., as well as a bunch of extra comfort grips. So this one did not come with another special pen, but a lot of them do. A lot of them come with funnels. A lot of them come with rollers like this to roll your drills when you are finished. They come with all sorts of things. This one comes with a container to put your wax in. So they do tend to come with a lot of extra things. So depending on what you happen to need for your collection at that moment, when you are looking for a style like this, you can try and find one that maybe offers a pen. And to me, that seems like a good way to try out different sizes and different styles to see what might work best for you. So this one, for example, is a little bit thicker, and it has 2 bumps in it. So you can hold your pen here and obviously twist it. And this one as well is a thicker one. I love this one. I think it's so pretty. And it also just has the 2 bumps in it. Here is a thinner one that is more similar to the Diamond Art Club pen types, as well as this one. And so I just think that if you're trying to decide, am I someone who needs a thick pen? Am I someone who needs a thin pen? And you don't really want to spend money on the hand-turned pens trying to figure that out, then if you need one of these storage systems anyway, try and find one that happens to come with one of these pens, and then that way you can try it out. If you're going to buy one of the storage systems anyway, you might as well find one that comes with a pen, and that will help you learn what type of pen size works best for you, especially if you have arthritis or wrist issues or whatever type of hand issues that you have, that you need to find the right type of pen for your body type. There are so many different Etsy stores out there that sell so many different types and styles of hand-turned pens. Now, those pens are expensive. I have not personally purchased any of those because I am fine using the ones that I have gotten this far. But if you're someone who does have special hand needs, then maybe you can learn, you know what, the thicker pen feels better to me, but I feel like I need something more. You can go to one of those Etsy sites and they have pens that have 3 bumps, 4 bumps. They have ones that are short and long, and you can try and look and see if there is one that you think would be more comfortable for your hand. You could also reach out to the diamond painting community through different diamond painting groups and ask others, you know, I have rheumatoid arthritis and I am struggling to find a pen that works for me. Does anybody else happen to struggle with this, and what pen works for you? and they might be able to give you some suggestions on where to start so that you aren't wasting your money trying to find a pen that works and spending a whole bunch of money on a hand-turned pen and then it doesn't work for you. So I know depending on some medical needs, there may just not be a pen that's perfect, but if you can at least find one that makes it a little bit more comfortable, I guess that's what we're aiming for, right? I've gone over the basics I think that I wanted to handle on all of the pens and the multi-placer tips, and so now what I want to do is talk to you about single placer tips. So this is a drill pen frenzy single placer tip, and it works just fine. It's very similar in its size to the regular pen tip. So that is mainly what I am looking for. Is I don't want one that is a lot thicker. Now this one, for some reason, this one does seem a little bit bigger around to me when I'm trying to see the drill as I am, pressing down on it, but technically it seems like it is actually the same size. I put it on the end of my 15 multi-placer, so I am not actually using it all that often. Now here's the single placer tip from Diamond Art Club. And it is very, very similar to the regular brass tip, but again, it is made out of stainless steel. This tip is a lot more similar to the regular tip, and it makes it a lot easier for me to see the tiny, tiny square drills when I am picking them up. And that is what I am really looking for when I am using a single placer. I want to be able to see the diamond that I am picking up so that I am able to place it better. Sometimes when you use tips that are a bit larger, like this angled tip, I had a little bit of trouble using this one when I was using squares, just because the end is so large, it covers up most of the square, and therefore I can't really see which direction the square is going when trying to place it, and then I place it crooked. Something else I should point out is they do make tips like this, maybe not arced, probably arced, but I have seen them out there made like this for specifically for squares in the shape of a square. You do not need a tip that is in the shape of a square to pick up square drills. Same applicator tip, this same regular round brass tip or stainless steel, all of them works whether it is a round drill or a square drill, it does not matter. So that seems to be more of a marketing ploy. When I did get one, I thought maybe it helped me straighten out my squares a bit, but really, if you are new into square drilled canvases, you do not need a square drilled tip. You just don't. So don't worry about searching for one or finding one, because really just using the regular tips is better, and plus then you don't ever have to switch them out depending on what canvas you're working on. Okay, so single placers. So my favorite single placer of all is this everlasting tip. So as you can see, it goes into this regular plastic tip that comes on the end of all of these pins. And all you do when you get it is you swap out the brass tip that is in this pin for the stainless steel tip that is in this pin. And I will show you how I do that. So if you are starting from scratch with a pen like this that came in one of those kits and it doesn't have one of those tips in either end, you can take one out of one of these regular pens and put it in. All you do is take your pliers and grab a hold of the single placer tip, and then you twist and it comes right out, right? Now I'm not going to use this, so I can discard it. And then I take the tip and push it down into the end of this one. And now I have my plastic tip in the end of this. Typically though, when you do get one of these pens with those 60 slot containers, it will come with a single placer tip as well as some multi-placer tips that you can use. So Here I am going to just slide this one back down in, but yeah, using the tweezers really does help. So now what I want to show you, I'm going to get some of this stuff out of the way, is how to replace the brass tip here with one of the stainless steel metal tips from Everlasting Tips. So they come in this little tiny baggie. They're obviously very, very small, so you have to be very careful not to lose them. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the brass tip out of this pin, and I am going to do that by again using my pliers and just grabbing a hold of that brass tip and twisting it out. And now that I have it out, I just want to show you. So the end that the pliers are holding on to is the end that was out of the plastic, and it is a little bit bigger than the end that goes in. So when I let go, you can see, I hope, that this side is a little bit skinnier than this side. So when we're putting in the steel tip, we want to make sure we're trying to put in the thin side into that plastic part. So here is one of those stainless steel tips. So you can see the skinny side is by my finger right now, and the thicker side is over there. You can also look at it and see that the hole is on this side, and there is no hole on this side. And of course, we need to put wax or putty or glue dots in it, so we want to make sure that the hole is accessible to us. There's a few ways to remember. So then I take the plain plastic tip and I push and gradually twist that in, and boom. Now I have a stainless steel single placer in the end of my pin. These are my favorites. I just like how they feel, especially when I'm using glue dots. I can see what I am doing. I love these tips better than the single placer tips like this that I have gotten. If I am using a multi-placer frequently, I want to make sure I have a tip like this on the end of it. So before I really get into glue dots and putty and things like that, I want to show you how to pull the multi-placer into the end of your pin as well, because frequently when you get them, they will slide right in and right out, and that does not work for multi-placing because it's just going to fall out of your pin. Everlasting Tips suggests, and I know other people can suggest, using a hot glue gun, and you just put a little bit of hot glue in the end of your pin, and then obviously the glue will make it stay. However, I don't like that because it's such a permanent solution. So all that I do is I get a little bit of washi tape, and you don't need very much. Just pull that piece off, wrap it around the tip of your pen, and then push it into your pen. And now it should stay. If it's still a bit loose, you can add one more layer of washi tape, and if you cut off too much washi tape, you can peel it off the edges, but that is what I do, and it really does hold for a long period of time. Eventually, I usually need to switch out the washi tape, but I mean, that takes 2 seconds to do, and then it holds the multi-placer in place. Luckily, I have not run into the problem where my multi-placer is larger than my pin. I do think that maybe happened one time, and then I had plenty of pins at that point, so I was able to just find a different pin that it fit into. Otherwise, the suggestions that I have heard to remedy that is like getting a metal file and filing down through the tip to try and make this a little bit wider. One question that I did get from somebody one time was about how they had red wax going up through their pin. So if you don't remove the wax out of the tip of your pin every once in a while, it will gradually get pushed up higher and higher into your pin, and you will just see a gradual thin line moving up through that clear area, and I mean over time it could go all the way up into your pen. So if you don't want that, you want to make sure that you're clearing out the wax every once in a while. Now with everlasting tips and things like that, they do suggest using plastic tweezers and not metal tweezers. I'm not really worried about damaging a brass tip because it's going to get damaged over time anyway. But then you can just take these plastic tweezers and twist into it and pull your wax out like that. So like I said, Everlasting Tips recommends that you use a pair of plastic tweezers like this and not metal tweezers when removing whatever it is you are using in your multi-placers and or single placers. However, I don't. I prefer to use actual tweezers. I do use tweezers like this when I am switching out my putty and my glue dots. I just find the metal tip to be easier. You can see I have washi tape wrapped around this one. This is to identify which pair of tweezers I have been using for glue dots, because obviously it is going to be getting quite sticky on the end, and I'm not going to want to use this on my drills on my canvas because they will stick to the tip, and that's not the point. So that is why I have this one marked with washi tape that tells me this is your glue dot tweezer, don't use it for anything else. So here is the one that I have that brand new everlasting tip with. And like I said, I use glue dots, and I just use the micro glue dots. These are the smallest sizes. They're about that big. And then mini glue dots. They're about this big. And there is a larger size. This is just the regular size of glue dot. I do know of some people that use these in their multi-placers, and I did try that for a little while, but it wasn't for me. How I have figured out how to put my glue dots in here, I use one micro and one mini. So the glue dots are really hard to see through the camera, but there is a glue dot right in front of my thumb here. And so what I do, I just pick it off with my fingers like this. You can use tweezers if you want to. So I grabbed one mini, and now I want a micro. Sometimes I use my finger to feel along until I feel it. And now I am going to press the glue dot that I have in my fingers to this small glue dot that is on the mini one, and then I pull them off together. And now I'm going to roll them around in my fingers a little bit to kind of make a little bit of a ball. Once I feel like I've made a good ball, then I put the ball onto the tip of my everlasting tip. So there you can kind of see that glue dot that's sticking out. And then here is where I take my tweezers and I start to push the glue dot into the tip. And I just maneuver them around in there until the glue dot is no longer sticking out of the end. Now if you put in too much glue dot so that it is still sticking out and you cannot get it to push in anymore, you can just take your scissors and chop it off. In fact, I will show you that on one. Let's see. Because I actually have a couple other things I want to show you about glue dots. Okay, so I also want to show you how you do glue dots if you put in too much, how you can remedy that, and I'm going to need to take out some glue dot to show you that. So how I take out my glue dots is I take these same tweezers and I just stick the tweezer tip into one end and pull up, and now I have the glue on the end of the tweezers. And this one I am going to throw away because it has been well used and it needs fresh glue dots. So I've tried a variety of combinations, 2 minis, 3 micros, and you might want to try a different combination to see what works best for you. Generally speaking, it seems like when using these single placer tips like from Diamond Art Club, just 2 micro dots generally seems to be all that you need to fill this tip. Hey, here's a good example. This multi-placer just flew out of this end. That means I need to take off the washi tape that was there before and add more. So there was the washi tape. I am going to get a little piece. Wrap it around the end. And then push it into my pen. Okay, now here you can see I've kind of got some extra washi tape showing, so I can take my scissors to cut that off, or I can tear that off, whatever works best for you. But now that one has new washi tape and it should stay in there for quite a while. So I don't think that I had replaced that washi tape since I started using the 12 multi-placer tips. So it was about time that I was going to need new washi tape. Okay, so we have removed the glue dot in this one. So to show you what it's like when I have too much glue dot, as well as another way to load them, you can take the tip and find your glue dot on your strand here. And I know it's so hard to see. I'm trying to see if you can even see the glue dot, but it's right in front of the tip right now. And what another suggestion is that you just start twisting around and it picks up the glue dot. And then you can use your fingers to kind of run in a circle and push them in. So right now I am holding tightly onto the tip and twisting, and that kind of helps round out that glue dot and twist it in. And then I'm also going to use my tweezers to help push it down a bit more. And I can tell that if I just have that one in there, it is not going to be enough. I'm definitely going to need more. So let's try adding a second mini dot. So this is the larger one. So again, on this one, I am just going to twist my pen as I'm trying to pick up this glue dot. I know that's really hard to see on the camera, if not impossible. And again, I am going to just kind of twist my fingers around. I'll twist my pen as my fingers hold it in place. And that kind of just helps create that ball. And then I'm going to try and use my tweezers to push the glue dot down into this tip as far as I can. Now I can just tell you from experience that for me anyway, 2 mini dots is too much, and there is no way I am going to be able to fit all of it in there. So I keep pushing the glue dot down with the tweezers, and then I kind of use my thumb as I pull the tweezers out to hold it down to try and get it to stay in, but it's just not going to work. So when you look at this one up close, you should see there is some glue just sticking out of the end. You don't want that. You want it to be flush with the tip of your pen. So if that happens, this is where you come with your scissors and you just run them up along the very, very edge and cut off that extra glue dot. And then you can use your tweezers to finish pushing the glue dots into the tip of the pen. Now I prefer to have less, not more, and that's why I just use 1 mini and 1 micro. And if it's ever not picking up very well, all I have to do is take my tweezers and slightly pull the glue dot out again, and it brings it up to the surface. Another good thing about glue dots is if you have one that you've been using for a while and the tip has gotten dirty, you can reuse your glue dots. So glue dots are very, very sticky when you first start using them. And then after you use them for a great deal of time, I mean, they last a really long time, they kind of start losing their stickiness. So once that happens, you can reuse them by pulling out the glue dot like I showed you before, how we empty it. So here I have the glue dot on the end of my tweezers. The piece that is on the tweezers was previously on top of my tip, and so I want to put that end into the bottom of my tip, and so I'm just flipping the glue dot around. And then again, I have to just kind of push the glue dot down into the pen tip until it is flush. So you can use glue dots like this with the stainless steel tips like I'm showing you. You can even put them in the brass tips. I was actually using that for a while until I made this video because I wanted to show you how to replace one of these brass tips. So I had glue dots in just a plain brass tip for quite a while, and that works just fine. So one other thing I want to point out about glue dots before we move on is that, like I said, they can be very, very sticky when you first start to use them, and you will put them onto a drill and not be able to get the drill to come off onto the canvas, which obviously is the whole point. I've heard of a few different tricks for this. One is that you can take your glue dot and tap it on your clothing. Okay, so here is a sleeve, and I can just tap the tip onto the clothing a little bit just to kind of get a little bit of dust or cotton on it, and that just helps make it a little bit less sticky. That is one way that you can do it. And then eventually the glue gets really sticky again, and then you just tap it against your clothes a little bit more. Another thing I heard of was putting some lotion on the back of your hand, and then you can rub the glue dot across that lotiony area. You don't want it to be like fresh lotion, or it really mucks up the glue dot. But if your hand is just moisturized, you can do that. The trick that works best, and I know I can't really show you this, but in my personal opinion, the trick that works best is I run the glue dot along the inner part of my nose. So if you pretend that this is the bottom part of my nose and this is my nostril, you run it along that inside part where it's just super, super greasy. You know the part I'm talking about. Run it along there once, twice, and that just gets the perfect amount of oil on it for it to not be super sticky. And then it will pick up your drills, but it will let them go back onto the canvas, which again is the whole point. So finally, to talk a little bit about putty. I have tried a lot of different things. I tried using museum putty. I've heard that that works really well for some people. I tried using some J&L's putty. I tried using Randa's wax. But the putty that I have found that works best for me is Randa's Crafty Corner. This one happens to be pink lemonade. It's scented putty. It's a very light scent. It's not overpowering, But the way that you would put putty into your MultiPlacers is very similar as how you would put wax into your MultiPlacers. Using the museum putty, I mean, if I liked this, this would have been great because, I mean, this is a huge, huge block, right? And I know some people really do like it. It was just not for me. I can't remember exactly why I didn't like it, but I didn't. I really feel like finding the right putty is all about finding one that is very similar to your climate. And I've mentioned that before, but if you're new to my channel, Miranda's Crafty Corner is one state away from where I am, so I feel like that is why this one works so well for me. I could be wrong in that hypothesis, but that's what works the best for me. This is their wax. This is just for single placers only, so you can see I have a little dot in there. So this is their soft wax, and you just push it in like you would into regular wax. And now you can see there's a little bit of white in that tip. I know it's kind of hard to see, but it is there. And it smells really good. I just have found that I prefer glue dots, but I tried this, and then on this is their hard and sticky wax. And so if you try a wax like this would be similar to some other waxes that are just very, very hard. What you're supposed to do here is to scrape your pen tip across the wax and kind of twist it and use your fingers to help push it in. So that's how their hard and sticky wax works. It would be very similar to, oh, what is the name of it? Oh, there is a very popular brand of wax that people use, and I'm blanking on the name right now. I will put it across the top of the screen that I'm thinking of, but hard waxes like that, that's what you do, is you scrape across. You can see I've got all these scrape marks there. That is because of how I was loading the pins. But these waxes, at least from Randa's, are really only made for single placers, not MultiPlacers. The putties are what are made for MultiPlacers. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to show you how to add putty to your pins, as well as to flip them and also remove them. So here is some brand new putty that I have hardly used. Comes in a block like this. I'll zoom you in here. And you just take your MultiPlacer and push it into the putty, kind of wiggle it a little bit and pull it off. And there you go. It is in there. And that is all you need. Okay? So now that we have fresh putty and glue dot in this one, so another thing I want to show you is how I flip my putty and am able to reuse it after I have been using it for quite a while. But I also want to point out, if you notice, there is putty kind of coming out on the sides of this pin. No matter what I do, when I fill a new MultiPlacer and I just fill it so that the putty is flush with the tip, as I did with this one, it is brand new and it is just right up on the edge of the tip. So it's not overfilled and it's not underfilled. I don't like to scrape it off because then I don't feel like it really picks up the drills as well as it should. You know, this is a 4 MultiPlacer tip. If I scraped it off, then every once in a while I would get a random assortment of 2 or 3 drills with the space in the middle, and that's not what I want. I want to consistently get 4 drills on this tip. So as I am pushing down and picking up drills, the putty just kind of gradually gets pushed out like it is on this one. It doesn't bother me. It might bother other people, but all I do is as I go, I just will push up like this. I will kind of fluff up the sides and I'll fluff up this side, and then I will push the putty back down on the top like this. And then it's just readjusted. It's not coming out of the sides quite as much anymore, and I can continue to use it. So that is how I do it. And I also just kind of wanted to show you, you can really see the indentions on this one from picking up drills so many times. And so as I am pushing down on the pen, it's making those indentions, and because it is making those indentions, then putty is just going to gradually get pushed out to the side to make room for those indentions. And so I have a little bit on the side of this one, but not quite as much. The indentions actually do help with multi-placing, so I'm just going to leave that one. But it, you know, it happens with all of my pens. And again, I just fluff up the side, flip up that side, and then push it back down, and then I go back to multi-placing. And it's just become such a natural part of multi-placing for me that I don't even think about it. Like if I sit back to take a breath and look at my painting and decide which section I'm going to do next, or how many drills do I need in the next row, I'll just sit there and kind of flip it up and turn it around and, you know, do my thinking. It's kind of a little fidget, and then I go back to what I was doing. So I wanted to point that out to you. And then I also wanted to show you how to flip your putty so it can be reused. So how I do this is I take my tweezers. Again, metal tweezers are not recommended with these tips. However, I do find them to be most effective, and just try to be careful. I insert the tweezers on one end, and this is also how you would remove your putty, but here we're flipping. So I insert the tweezers on one end, I slide it across, and then I lift it out. Now you can see I did not get all of the putty, but if you look at the putty as it is on this pen, you can very much see that the bottom part, you know, down here, right, closest to my thumbnail, is very white, and the top part is very grayish, dirty, right? I have used it a lot. And I've also been using it a lot with black drills, and black drills just tend to be a bit dirty. So, and I've also been flipping it up with my finger, things like that. It gradually gets dirty over time. It's natural, it's fine. And that's what makes it so that we have to replace it every once in a while, right? So I focus on this, and I pay attention to which is my clean side and which is my dirty side. But now I need to get the rest of the putty out. So I'm going to take the other side of my tweezers, because the rest of the putty in here is going to be relatively clean, fresh, new putty. So I'm going to pull that out onto my other tweezers and know that it is clean putty from the bottom. Okay, so I know I have all clean putty on this end, and then on this end, the top is dirty, the bottom is clean. So I'm going to flip it and put the dirty side down into the bottom of the pen first. I do a combination of using my tweezers and my fingers for this. But so now I have the dirty side way down in the bottom, and I am going to just kind of help push it in. And then I'm going to take this clean stuff that's on the other side of my tweezers and add it to that top row, because obviously we want more clean putty on the top. And then I'll use my tweezers to just kind of help maneuver the putty in and down into the multiplacer. Like I said, you can use your fingers to help with that as well. Sometimes just trying to use putty, just trying to use tweezers only can be a bit time consuming. And after a bit of maneuvering like this, it's all pretty much down in there. You can also push it against your palm, you can push it against your table, you can push it against an unfinished part of your canvas, preferably the sides and not where the glue is, but now it's flipped and has newer putty on the top, not quite as dirty. I see a bit more, I see that it's a bit darker on this end than this end, but it's still better. If I compare it to the blue one that I just put brand new putty into, the blue one is still a lot whiter, a lot fresher, but this is a way to help make your putty last a little bit longer, to just flip it over, and it works really, really well. But it is still going to have brand new stick to it and work a lot better, and reusing your putty makes it last twice as long. And of course, with your pen tips, if you don't like putty, you can also use good old regular wax. And these work the exact same way. Of course, you got to make sure you remove that plastic covering. You push your tip down, kind of wiggle it back and forth, and lift up, and then you have your red wax in the tip there. So if you prefer wax, that is how you put it into the end. I do not prefer wax, so I'm going to take that out. Another way that you can make your putty last a little bit longer is you can remove the top layer. You can use your tweezers or your fingers. I generally just use my fingernails, and I'm just going to scrape it across the top of the putty. So I'm just removing that top dirty layer. Okay, so now I know this is really hard to see, but the putty is not flush with the top of the MultiPlacer anymore because I have scraped it out just a little bit. And now that way I can come back in with my new putty and I can just add a little bit more. So I'm just going to put this right on the end and push down and pull away. And now I've got a bunch of very random looking putty here. I'm going to kind of fold it over with my fingers and run it along so that I make sure it's even. This is a 10 placer, so it's a little bit longer and harder to fill. And then I'm just going to put it back on the wax, and I'm going to pivot it like this to try and make sure that I get it pushed in as far as possible. And then I'm folding it back over, and I'm going to pivot the wax again like that. Now I don't know I have enough putty in there that I can scrape the edges off, and I can use that piece later. But now I just happen to have a fresh layer on the top of this one to use versus replacing the entire thing. And this works really well too. I feel like I end up having to replace that top layer a little bit more frequently than if I am actually putting in brand new putty or flipping the putty, but both ways work. So it's really whatever method works best for you. So glue dots and Miranda's Crafty Corner putty, those are my favorite types of putty. My favorite pens that I use are the freebies that I have gotten in those storage container systems, and then I've gotten some Diamond Art Club pens over a period of time. My favorite single placer tips are definitely these tips. All of the ones that I happen to have out right now have them. The Everlasting Tip, single placer tip, that is my favorite single placer tip. Although using a tip like this, like from Diamond Art Club, it's fine. It works fine too. I just prefer the Everlasting tips. And then for MultiPlacers, I prefer the thinness of Diamond Art Club's MultiPlacers. However, now that I am getting a lot more comfortable with multi-placing, the thickness of the everlasting tip MultiPlacers is not really bothering me all that much. And I am really glad to be able to have one that is this big, especially when doing those really heavy color blocking areas. It is nice to have a large MultiPlacer like this. It did take a lot of putty to fill this up though. Okay, so I hope that that answers all of the questions that you may have about pens, pen tips, glue dots, MultiPlacers, putty. If you have any additional questions that I did not address, please let me know in the comment section. If you liked this video, please be sure to give it a like, and of course subscribe if you have not subscribed yet and would like to see more of my diamond painting content. So I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you all have a fabulous day. All right, bye-bye everybody.